Sorry, Fred Flintstone, but this is not the video for you. That's right, I'm repairing the holes in the floor of my BMW 2002. I figure I should start off by saying I'm not a professional and I'm sure there's a better way to go about this. However, with some basic tools, I'm quite happy with the result, and I think it's a solid repair. The main tools I'm using include a Miller 180 MIG welder, a die grinder, and a finger sander, which is great for the hard to reach places. The accessories are a cutoff wheel, 36 and 80 grit sanding pads, and medium and coarse scotch pads. The belts are 120, 80, and 40 grit. Alright, let's begin. A little rust hole can be quite deceiving as you'll usually need to cut much more out so you'll have unpitted, rust-free metal to work with. When cutting the rust out, try to make your lines as straight as possible. This will make creating a patch that much easier. Once the hole is cut, I give it quite a rough measurement for my first trial fitment of the template. My preferred material for templates comes from a Harvest Crunch original cereal box. The original flavor works best. I find the honey nut is just a little too crunchy. What doesn't show in this video is the trial and error to get the patch dead on. More time spent here saves you time when you're working with the metal. I actually screwed up twice making these. When finding material to get the patch, it's necessary to repair the metal with the same gauge, same thickness. I have a wrecked 2002 trunk lid that will do the trick. Trace my template on it and then cut it out. After sanding the paint off and shaping the pieces, I now have a patch that should look factory. You'll notice a few holes I punched in. These are where the spot welds were originally. I don't have a spot welder, so plug welds are the best I can do. However, I definitely recommend a spot welder if you can, as the result will look that much more factory and it'll save you time in the finishing department. Don't be fooled by the editing, a few kilometers back and forth to get the fitment right. I'm going to gloss over the metal shaping as I'm not an expert, but essentially I made a jig out of a piece of wood that followed the same contours as the original piece and then just heated it up and used a hammer and dolly to get it to the shape you see. I suppose the main trick to butt welding sheet metal is just making several solid tack welds. I find this to be the best method with a MIG welder because if you attempt a straight weld, you'll heat up the metal too much and you're guaranteed to burn through. The tack method allows for full penetration and less heat, which means less warping. If the settings are perfect on the welder and your gap is good, sanding down the weld will be a breeze as well. Having a good gap is very important, as the weld will shrink and the gap will compensate for this. It is also very important to make sure each edge is flush. Hopefully my crude drawing will show what I mean. Ideally, you'll only be grinding down the weld, not the panel. You definitely don't want to be making your repair thin. So, after several solid tacks, this is what it'll look like before you pick up the sander. I'm sure there'll be a few areas where you'll need to use the welder again to get rid of pinholes, but it should look pretty good. I hope this makes rust repair seem less daunting to you guys. For me, the welding really is the easiest part. Making the patch panels seem to eat up most of the time. However, it's quite satisfying and worth the effort. After some sanding and linishing off, and a coat of primer, it's starting to look like a floor again. Now to do it all over on the other side. Editing makes this process seem quick and easy, but believe me, I have several hours into even just making one patch alone. After a little pour 15 and undercoat, I think I'm ready to put the car back together and enjoy. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more progress.